Hello everybody, my name is Ben and I'm from the History Fella channel. I thought I'd do a video today of I found my top 8 favourite World War II books, so I thought I'd just give like a brief showing of them and like an overview of each one so that you get to have a look. Right, these are in no particular order either. Although I might say which one's my favourite. First one's a classic. This is The World at War. That's written by Mark Arnold Forster. It's the World at War, which they turned into a TV series not long after the war. But it's a really comprehensive definition and overall telling of the World War II. It goes right from the beginning. It just says Europe 1936 to 39, and then it goes through all the invasions of the various countries, the Battle of the Atlantic, Italian campaign, D-Day, and it goes right up to Europe in 1949. But it's a really fantastic book. It never gets old and it's quite a definitive account of World War II. Next, we've got another D-Day one. This is written by Giles Milton. D-Day, A Soldier's Tale or Story. This is another comprehensive book, but it takes a more personal look at like the soldiers and what they were doing during D-Day, the run up to D-Day, and then it follows D-Day throughout the the 2 or 3 days of the actual event of landing over in France. But it looks at various soldiers, regiments, tactics, and there's some fascinating tales in there about, especially the one, I will always remember the one about the cyclist, so you should certainly buy that book, have a read, and then you'll see what I mean. That's Giles Milton, D-Day, A Soldier's Story. We've got another D-Day one. This is Sand and Steel by Peter Caddick Adams. It's a new history of D-Day. It's a very comprehensive book. If you look at the thickness of the book, you're looking at sort of over 1,000 pages of text, and it's all very fine, small text. But it's really a really decent and well, I can only think of fantastic, but a really brilliant overall look at the Battle of D-Day, and that's Sand and Steel. There's also a similar one to this which I've yet to read, which is called Snow and Steel, which looks at the Battle of the Bulge. But if this is anything to go by, that should be a brilliant book too. And that's Peter Caddick Adams, Sand and Steel, A New History of D-Day. My favourite book now of World War II, which I read last year, which was Fighting Through to Hitler's Germany, written by Mark Forsdyke. And this is personal accounts of the men of the First Suffolk from 44 to 45. This follows them through the training, how they weren't really told what they were training for. They were just taken up to Scotland, had a few weeks of training, then down to the south coast of England, and then you can read how that particular regiment then made it through onto the beaches up over the bridge, over the beaches, and then started working their way through France, past various German problems and soldiers and artillery, and that's just a fantastic read, and it really looks at the men and the soldiers of the First Suffolk. A really good book. Right, the second one. Now this is probably a little boring to some people, which is quite a chunky one. Logistics in World War II, 39 to 45, and that's written by John Norris. And this is really about the supply and how you get that amount of men, get them all travelling around, coordinating how they're supplied with food, all the equipment, the weapons, the tanks, all the support crew, first aid, that sort of thing. It was really comprehensive, and it basically tells you how a country's army runs itself during wartime. So that's more the technical side of things, of running a war, rather than the actual in-depth fighting and the various battles. And the next one is a very recent one. It's called The Shetland Bus by Stephen Wynne, which, to be honest, I'd never really heard of before, but it's basically about the small boats going between the Shetland Isles, which is like the very north of Scotland, travelling over to Norway and back again, because Norwegian spies and secret agents were being hampered by the Germans who got into Norway, and it was a way of them getting across to the UK and back again if needed, and it was a supply route between the two countries, and it's called it was known as the Shetland Bus, but it wasn't actually a bus. It's like they were using like small fishing vessels to get across secretly without the Germans knowing, and that's a really good book, that one. The second one is The Poles in the Battle of Britain. It's a photographic album of the Polish view by Peter Sikora. A very good book, because the Poles, they'd obviously been overrun by the Germans, but obviously the Polish people, or certainly the airmen that were around then, didn't want to just give up and not participate, so many of them came over to Britain and joined the RAF there, where they were then able to fight as pilots or train as pilots, and they fought during the Battle of Britain and were one of the main reasons why the Allies won the Second World War, is because of the use of the Polish pilots. But there's many photographs in that, many pictures of the men that actually took part in doing the job. That's The Poles in the Battle of Britain by Peter Sikora. And then the last one I've got is a bit more technical. It's Tank Warfare 39 to 45. This is written by Simon and Jonathan Forty. And highly illustrated history of armoured warfare during the Second World War. Features over 180 photographs along with excerpts from technical assessments, tactical guides and after-action reports. A dramatic record of the rapid development of the tank design during the war. Insight into armour in action on every front from North Africa to Berlin by way of Rangoon and Iwo Jima. And it also follows the various Various tanks produced from various countries fly Britain, France, Germany, America, and it also tells you about all the tanks and situations and the war fronts they were fighting upon, how they had to adapt and that sort of thing. It's very good, it's very technical, but very informative as well. And you've also got, it's good on the, show you some of the diagrams. We've got that particular page. It's all about the markings on the ammunition, which ammunition they used, which works best. Let me just find just a page with some of the photos. It goes through the various campaigns. Like we've got Italy, a couple of photographs of the tanks. But a really fascinating read and a brilliant book if you're into like tank warfare. And they also do a similar one which is on artillery warfare. That one's by Pen and Sword Books. In fact, a few of these are. The Poles in the Battle of Britain. The Iceland Bus. Also the logistics in World War II. One. Fighting through to Hitler's Germany. They're all Pen and Sword books. And because I forgot, I better do the other two. The Sand and Steel, A New History of D-Day. That's let me get inside the cover. That's from Arrow Books. The D-Day book by Giles Milton is done by John Murray, or published by John Murray. And then the last one, the World at War book, that's published by Fontana. So they're my top 8 World War II books at the moment. Thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe. Underneath this video I'll put links to a couple of the books, and feel free to feel free to subscribe. Leave any comments you fancy. If you want to get in touch with me, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at The History Fella, or you can visit me at my website, which is the UK historian bendavidson.co.uk. Thank you very much, and I shall see you next time. Thank you.